camera sees it, you know, so it's good in a way because it's...
O premieră mondială a deschis drumul pentru o poveste extraordinară la Festivalul Internațional de Teatru de la Sibiu din acest an. Piesa Ascultă-mă, scrisă de o femeie atipică și puternică, așa cum este celebra scriitoare Gertrude Stein, a avut un rol principal și pentru prima dată în România, pe mult îndrăgită actriță Kathleen Turner. Pusă în scenă de doi artiști americani, piesa lui Gertrude Stein devine o metaforă pentru prezentul zbuciumat și a avut în scenă și cai. Aflăm povestea în cele ce urmează.
If you're not a little frightened, why do it? If you're not daring yourself, why do it? If you're not risking anything, why do it?
That's a very good start for an interview. Thank you so much for joining the Romanian Cultural Television. What is the story of this play? It's too little to describe it as a play. Contemporary circus?
In 1936, Gertrude Stein came home from a tour in America. And she was famous now in America. And she was filled with creative ideas. And the stirrings of the war that was about to happen had begun in Europe. And she was advised by her friends not to go back to Europe, to stay in America where she would be safer. And she decided, no, she lived in Paris, she would go to Paris, and she was filled with creative ideas. And part of many of the creative people that she knew, their idea was to change consciousness. And that's why the play is called Listen to Me. And that's why it's significant that it's written in 1936. Because it's to slow down and to pay attention and not to be hurtled into emotional ideas, and that there's a different idea of drama. So she was writing to her friends at the time she was writing this play, and she said, I'm thinking of the old-fashioned plays that I saw as a child. So I researched it. No one had bothered to do this, and I realized she was talking about circus plays. And that in the one she was talking about, there was a woman on a horse. And I've known Patricia for a long time. And we had an idea for a Picasso show. And Gertrude Stein owned those paintings. And so I thought for her to write a show, she looked up and she saw these paintings on her walls of the horses with the acrobats. So I called Patricia and I said, remember that Picasso show? And Patricia said, yeah, from 20 years ago. And I said, it's a Gertrude Stein show now. And Patricia said, yeah, okay, great.
Because I have the horses, and we do a lot of theatrical productions with horses. So this was an idea that 20 years ago we had to create a piece. And we wanted to do it at the Museum of Modern Art because that has the Picasso paintings.
Wow.
And we even tried bringing, looked at the elevator.
To see if they could bring the horses up in the elevator. And the deciding factor was the floors are marble.
It's too slippery.
And to cover the floor, you would have to put dirt. You would
Quite impossible.
Exactly. So we sat with this idea. And at that time, I didn't know that the paintings were owned by Gertrude Stein. We just knew that the paintings were there.
Because he saw a photograph of Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas drinking tea.
On those two armchairs.
Those two armchairs, like in the play. And above them are the
Some of the paintings.
So then it was...
It all fell into place.
How you could put it together.
Exactly.
Which was a great idea.
And she wrote to her friends, I was worried lest the play become too meaningful. But Alice said, no, it's nice. Because she didn't want to engage in direct political action.
This is what I was going to ask. Is it actually a play about the past, or is it about the present?
We are living in 1936. We hope we don't live in 1937 next year. We hope we don't live in 1942. But we are living in 1936. This is a play about now. This is a play that is saying, listen to me, don't get so excited. View the world like a landscape. Step back, take your time, slow down, reconsider, think of what things mean.
Listen,
Listen.
because people don't listen.
And that's what the horses do, because dressage is slow and beautiful in its slowness.
How much does it take to work with the horses?
For something like this,
Preparing the show, yes.
first of all, you need the right horses. So we have 5. And they need to be horses who are calm enough to be with lights, sound, trainable enough that they can dance, make circles, bend, cross their legs. They, do some nice movements that look a little bit like ballet. And then you need horses that are comfortable. I have a gigantic skirt. It's all over the back of the horse, and not every horse would let you do that. So we actually had to let one of the horses go because she was just too frightened of the whole everything.
Do you select them from here when you...
Well,
Yeah.
actually, what was really interesting was at my house in Connecticut, I have a troupe of dancing horses. They're experienced.
They're dancers.
They're dancers. They've done it a million times. But here, the Sibiu Fitz Festival said, oh, we have horses. So we came, we didn't know what kind of horses, and it turns out that these horses are primarily jumpers. So they're not ballet dancers, they're more like track athletes. So they started off a little bit stiff, and we changed some of the choreography, but they were wonderful.
So it's like Carl Lewis on Dancing with the Stars.
They have been wonderful. They were so professional, nothing fazed them, and they're beautiful.
What were you the most nervous about the show here in Sibiu?
The show relies on ensemble work. So it's very important that every person in the show know every word of the show and every image in the show. And we were adapting to new horses, a new environment, a new field. And so my biggest fear was that the ensemble would fracture and that there would be different points of view about what was going on. And that did not happen once, not for any minute, not for any second. And
You're lucky.
what happened, I am lucky. I am lucky. And instead, the ensemble grew together, and we are purposeful together. And because of Kathleen Turner and her generosity in doing this work and her generosity to the cast, she set the example.
What were you nervous about the most?
Simply
Falling
put,
off the horse.
that we might not live.
Really?
Well, I'm making a joke, but you never know. A horse is an unpredictable animal. So these are horses that we don't know them. So that something might frighten them or something might happen. But after the first 2 days, I knew we would be okay because they were super.
Part of the tension of the performance is that you are looking at powerful animals who are willfully moving slowly in a pattern and crossing their... It's almost like a big lion or a cat. You're looking at raw power channeled into a controlled way. And there's something frightening about that and disturbing about that. And that's part of what I think the theatricality is. And again, like 1936, of powerful forces that are moving slowly.
Why did you choose Kathleen Turner for interpreting Gertrude Stein?
First and foremost,
They look alike in a way, a bit, not necessarily, totally.
Gertrude Stein had the power of a woman. She was a powerful woman, and she was an intelligent, powerful woman. And that was one of the reasons she was dismissed and called a crank and made fun of. Because that's what many people do to powerful, intelligent women.
Happens nowadays as well, yeah?
So I needed someone who was a powerful woman, who was smart,
Successful.
and who knew who she was. And also Gertrude Stein's voice is grounded. You know that she stands on the earth with both feet. That's why she's wearing sandals, like Stein. And Kathleen Turner's voice stands on the ground and is grounded. So you have the perfect match of instrument, of vocal instrument, and music, of word music.
Was she afraid of something?
Never, not for one moment.
No.
Also, you should know, my stuff normally rehearses for 2 years. So we were on a path to do this in 2026 when Fitz called me and said, would you be able to do this? And I assumed they were talking for 2026. And I said, yeah, sure. We'll be ready for 2026. And they said, no, we want it for June of 2025. So I said, 2 people have to agree. I had to call Kathleen. If you have a movie, what else is she doing? And her words were, yes, it's an adventure. So I started to cry.
Oh.
And I've known Patty for decades.
Probably 40 years.
40 years. We have been friends for 40 years. And so Patty knows me. So I called Patty up and she says, why are you crying? And I said, because we have this offer. And
That's all right.
Kathleen said yes. And then Patty started crying. And she said it was an adventure. And both of them, it's an adventure. And we are so moved by the trust and generosity of Mr. Chiriac in inviting us, in trusting us,
Really.
in believing in us, in supporting us.
Kathleen Turner is really brave. She is 71 years
Yes.
old after all. It's not very easy to be on stage and in full force at this age. is
And
it?
these words are not easy to learn. It doesn't make such sense. It has taken a lot of time to learn.
You have to live in the words.
What do you like most about how the show glued together and how the audience reacted?
I would like to say that looking at the Picasso paintings and trying to find horses that looked like that or images, one of my friends did the costume design that could be recreated so that somebody would go, oh wow, look, that looks just like a boy with the pipe.
With the
Or-
roses on his head.
Or for just a moment that you would see a picture, that we could find a horse that would look like that picture.
We're not copying paintings. We're quoting them. So there's a moment, the backdrop is
It's a lot
pink.
of references.
Well, the backdrop, color harmonies. The backdrop is pink. It's done from a color sample of a background of Picasso's with a pink sunset with horses walking across it. So the audience doesn't need to know that, but we're quoting that. It's like quoting a chord of music. And the show grew together as the cast and the designers and Patricia understood the geography that we were inhabiting.
Is there something that we've lost from that world that we can't recreate today?
That's a good question. The attention to language. I think with the internet and computers, the attention to the sound of language, to the poetry of language, I think is somewhat
Do
lost.
you miss that?
We forget how important a part of consciousness radio played.
Yeah, true.
That people were used to listening to the radio and getting the news from the radio and imagining from the radio based on words. And we don't listen to the radio in that way. We're primarily visual. and we take in information at a quicker editing pace than they did then, and they took in words quicker and in a more in-depth way. That's why popular song lyrics in America from the 20s and the 30s are so sophisticated, because the audience was used to listening to radio and of hearing those words. And we're a visual culture.
Why this mix of theater, circus elements? Here in Romania, we're not accustomed to this kind of show.
This is what she was thinking about.
Okay.
Some plays, Samuel Beckett,
Okay.
you obey the author's commands.
Minimalism to its core.
Right, you don't end, because that's the aesthetic of it and that's its meaning. Gertrude Stein did not include punctuation. There's no periods, there's no commas. So she said anyone can make sense of it. So it involves the participation of the audience and the interpreters. You can't understand this play when you read it. You have to see it performed or hear it out loud. You have to perform it, and it's its own genre. And so the job here was not obeying, but embodying, to give a body to this dream. And once I learned that it was based on circus images, I was like, oh, okay. She looked up and she saw the paintings. She looked up and she thought of the Circus Medrano, which is the circus they all went to in 1906. She thought of Picasso. She thought of the people, she thought of Josephine Baker. Like, what was she thinking of when she wrote these words? And Leonard Bernstein wrote about this play. And he said, what other writers do is hide the process of decision in the writing, and she makes it part of the play.
Do you think the young audience can relate to it in that literary sense, or not?
I don't know. I don't know.
Question.
I think we did a dress rehearsal where my son, who's 29,
Okay.
he really got it. Like, he understood that she was writing a play and that the characters that were behind her were the characters of her imagination, and he got it.
William Shakespeare is a character in it. She's having a conversation and an argument with William Shakespeare about what it is to write a play in English. One syllable, many syllables. And once I realized Sweet William counting his syllables, and in Love and counting his syllables, I was like, oh, well, who's Sweet William? She never says Shakespeare in the play, so you could make another choice.
If you read it, there are no characters. It's just words. So what's been wonderful for me to see as an actor is how David put the people she knew, Picasso, Hemingway, Fitzgerald, Dora Maar, and gave them lines so that it became the world of Gertrude Stein. And I think this is
Who circles her in the salon the way the horses do at the beginning. She had a circle
of friends.
of friends.
I'm wondering if it's also an invitation to get closer to literature.
Yes, all theater, any play. But theater is the art of human relationships, in the same way that music is the art of sound and silence. And it's the relationship between actors, between the director and the actors, between the audience and the actors. So any play is like a cake recipe on a box. It's words on a piece of cardboard. It's not tasty until you actually crack the eggs, pour the milk, beat the thing, put it. So that's what a play is.
Speaking about conflict, how is New York nowadays?
Hot. It's 102 degrees.
Very hot.
Very hot.
Hot. With all that entails. It's 1936.
Is it something you feel? The
Yes.
tension
Oh,
as
very
citizens?
much.
Oh, yeah.
I think everything is very divided. There's just a lot of hatred, there's a lot of violence.
And
everything
tribalism.
is very divided, more than I have ever seen.
There are forces working behind the scenes to increase division. And that's what's ominous. and to get people to behave impulsively and not to sit back and think of consequences.
Is there any hope through theater, through literature?
With a play like this, you're training an audience in a way of consciousness of the world rather than direct political action. If you can train people to slow down, observe,
Observe, yeah.
don't just participate.
Was it a difficult journey?
Oh, to be a director?
Uh-huh.
I'm 71. I've been directing plays since I was 17.
They have given up hope that he is going to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Yeah, no. I was very lucky. I knew what I wanted to do and what I was. It combined several things that I was good at. Gossip was one of them.
That's behind the scenes.
Well, no, because what is theater if not a higher form of gossip?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Commedia dell'arte begins because someone saw Anna Maria coming home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday wearing what she wore on Friday night.
How do you view the future of theater, and how is the theater scene now in the United States?
Because there is more fear than there was before. Almost fear of censorship, fear of not getting funding. I think it is not as able to blossom as it has in other times. That's I would say would be my opinion. There's a lot of nice entertainment. You know, you could see Les Mis, you could see Cats, you know.
I'm of a different opinion. Because I curate an international theater festival, I see a lot of hope for theater which is bare bones with little money, which is not connected to an institution, which is not paid for by a sponsor or a government, because there's no such thing as free sponsorship, either from the left or from the right. And I believe that there's a blossoming of theater with small companies, many of them led by women, who are, it's very interesting phenomena at my festival, that we bring in these small companies, and they perform with a flashlight and 2 pie plates, and they make an ocean. That's what I think. I think it's a time. There's a certain kind of theater now which requires a lot of money and big technology, and there's another kind of theater that has grown up with nothing, and out of nothing makes magnificence.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really a pleasure.